Dragon Ball Daima is finally here. I know, just like me, y'all are glad that we finally got Dragon Ball back in its anime form. And I'm being completely serious when I say this. Words simply cannot express how excited I am to have Dragon Ball back. And let me preface this entire review when I say that Dragon Ball Daima literally gives that original Dragon Ball feel. And that's not simply because they're getting turned back into kids. It's because this anime literally gives that feel of adventure all over again. And that's what has me excited. As I was watching the first episode, I literally felt like a kid all over again. And I'm not even exaggerating. So without further ado, let's go ahead and break down everything that happened within this first episode of Dragon Ball Daima. So first and foremost, I loved how in the very beginning, the story actually sits there and recaps all of the events from OG Dragon Ball all the way up to the end of Z where Goku defeats Kid Buu. And I love the animation for this. The animation in the entire episode was god tier, and it literally is the best that Dragon Ball in its anime form has ever looked. And one thing to note during this recap is not only did we get to see all the events from OG Dragon Ball to Z, as I said, but one of the key things that I noticed is the fact that when they were going over the portion of the Dragon Ball story where Goku actually arrives on Earth, they actually used Dragon Ball Super Broly's version of Bardock and not the Z version of Bardock from the Father of Goku special. And I really do like that because, again, Dragon Ball Super Broly's version of Bardock is Toriyama's version of Bardock. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. So as the episode starts, we actually pan over this castle within the demon realm. And then we get to see two figures watching the events of the Buu saga. And one of the figures are really ashamed of the fact that Demon King Deborah was controlled by Babidi's magic. And just real quick about the whole Demon King Deborah thing. As we all know, this show is going to go over a lot of different things within the demon realm. And I am so excited that we're finally getting all of this information finally delved into. I know there was a particular interview that Toriyama did, or it may have been in one of the Kaizenchus, but Toriyama did kind of give a few tidbits about the demon realm and Makaio Shins, which I'll go into later in the video, but he never delved deep enough. We never got to see this in anime form or manga form, and this is what Daima is all about, and I'm so excited that we're finally getting that. So as the episode goes on, we find out that these two figures are named Goma and Degetsu. Goma is the shorter one, and Degetsu is the Supreme Kai looking one. And we actually find out that Degetsu is the younger brother of Shin, yes, the Supreme Kai of Universe 7. And we find out that Degetsu actually loathes his older brother, and he loathes the fact that he's helping the mortals. So as they continue to watch, we see that they are upset about the fact that there are powerful beings out there within the mortal realm that exist and that they can fly and use ki. Degetsu originally thinks that they could be of the Majin race, again, the demon race, but Goma tells him that they can't be because their ears aren't pointy, they are rounded, and that will be important later. So as they continue to watch the events of the Buu saga, Degetsu mentions that Babidi wanted to rule the outside realm and the demon realm. So the outside realm is anything not within the demon realm, and the demon realm is its own thing. It exists outside of the 12 universes. There isn't a demon realm for each and every universe. Again, it exists outside of the 12 universes. And then when they see that Deborah is eaten by Buu, Degetsu states that Goma is now the king of the demon realm. So seemingly he was the one that is next in line, and now he obviously is the king here. And then as they continue to watch, they learn about the Earth's Dragon Balls and how they work. And then they notice Dende, and they figure that the Namekians escaped to the outside world since they couldn't find any. So remember this because I will get into this later about Namekians and the demon realm. Obviously they get to the portion where Goku ends up defeating Kid Buu, and Degetsu and Goma are surprised that they are able to defeat Majin Buu. And then Degetsu's older sister and seemingly Shin's sister, Dr. Arensu, ends up interrupting them, and then Goma mentions that she's been doing some form of research. Now, it's not stated exactly what she's been researching, but there are a few hints here and there throughout the episode, and obviously we'll be learning more as the actual anime continues. And then we find out that Arensu was also watching the events of the Buu saga while Degetsu and Goma were watching. She then states that it's unlike Deborah to venture to the outside world, and she also kind of scared scares Goma into thinking that the Z Fighters will end up coming after him. Goma then suggests to use the Demon World's Dragon Balls to take care of the Z Fighters, but Dagetsu tells him that they can't do that since they are guarded by the 3 powerful Tamagamis. Now, these Tamagamis look to be some form of powerful robots that were built to sit here and safeguard the Demon World's Dragon Balls. And yes, the Demon World has its own set of Dragon Balls. It looks to be only 3 Dragon Balls though, so keep that in mind. And we'll get into how those Dragon Balls appeared there in just a moment. Goma then tells Dagetsu that he actually meant the Earth's Dragon Balls. Dagetsu is actually kind of concerned of what Goma's wish could be, because more than likely the Earth's Dragon Balls are composed of white magic, while the Demon Realm's Dragon Balls are composed of black magic. And a black wish like Dagetsu is thinking that Goma is going to make would not work on Earth's Dragon Balls. It's at that point that Goma suggests turning the Z Fighters into children, and that technically wouldn't be a black wish. It would be harmless, and it would actually get them out of the way so that way they can actually do the things that they wanted to do. He then states that his second wish would be to get the evil third eye. Now, on my first watch of this, I instantly thought of Tien and how Tien is supposed to be technically a alien or a hybrid alien, an alien and human, but on a second watch, I don't think that's the case. I think this is the Demon Realm's own thing, because this is said to be the legendary Tertian Oculus, something that was lost during Deborah's father's reign as the Supreme Demon King, and his father's name was Abora. Because usually the evil third eye is placed on the forehead and is said to give an unbelievable amount of power, and then it's also passed down to each and every Supreme Demon King. So seemingly Deborah was the only one that did not have that, and maybe if he actually did have it, he wouldn't have been controlled by Babidi, so who knows. It's at that point that Dagetsu actually asks Goma if he could actually use the third wish, and Goma obviously says he'll think about it, so who knows if he'll actually be able to use the third wish or Goma's trying to play him. It's yet to be seen, and it's also yet to be seen what that wish could be. It's at that point that they all leave to get ready to go to Earth, and as they're leaving, we actually see some mysterious figure watching them from behind a pillar. Now, if you've seen the promotional material, you've probably heard about who this is, their name at least, but I will keep that as a surprise for when he's actually revealed, more than likely within the next episode or 2. It's at that point that we find out that Goma actually plans to bring Neva, or Neva, a Namekian, with them to Earth. And yes, there is a Namekian here in the Demon Realm. As they're departing, Neva actually mentions that they're not supposed to go to the outside world, but Goma tells Neva that they'll be seeing another Namekian in the outside world, in which he's actually surprised that Namekians still exist. And they also tell him that they have everything sorted out, so there's no need to worry. So as they're flying up into the sky, you're actually able to see a lot of the surrounding area, and everything looks beautiful. Again, as I said in the beginning of the video, this episode, or just Dragon Ball Daima in general, looks amazing. It is the best that Dragon Ball has looked, and again, I can't wait to see how they animate everything else, how they animate fight scenes and whatnot, but we'll get into that in a moment. But like I said, as they're flying up to leave, they actually encounter some form of giant fish who is seemingly a guardian. The fish then asks for a passcode. They give him the passcode, which we find out that that passcode is actually the code to get to the outside world. So he reluctantly lets them in, which he lets them into his mouth to get to the outside world, which I thought was definitely a cool part. Once inside, they actually encounter another fish that looks very, very similar to the bigger one that they just traveled into. And then that smaller fish asks which universe are they traveling to. And then, like I said earlier in the video, this does mean that the Demon Realm exists outside of the 12 universes, and it's its own separate realm. As they tell the smaller fish that they want to go to Universe 7, the smaller fish says, y'all aren't the only ones that have been coming to Universe 7. And then they end up thinking that that's more than likely Deborah and Babidi, but the smaller fish says there's somebody else after them, and then he says that it was Dr. Arinsu. Obviously they think that she's up to something, but they kind of push that to the side and they continue through the portal into Universe 7. It's at that point that we go to see the Z Fighters, and we see that it is Trunks' 9th birthday, and the Z Fighters are celebrating that. And I really do love these moments where we actually get downtime with the Z Fighters, with the crew, and we actually get to see them in their day-to-day life, because I feel like we get to see the real them. But it's at that point that Krillin Krillin actually teases Trunks for being a short 9-year-old, and then we actually get more lore for the Saiyans, and Goku actually mentions that Saiyans have their growth spurt at 15 years old, and that's why Saiyans tend to stay small for so long. I think that was a nice little lore drop there, because especially during Dragon Ball Super, a lot of people were wondering why Goten and Trunks were so small for so long, and it honestly makes sense that it is 15 years old once they hit that growth spurt, because even in Dragon Ball, Goku was very small up until he was about 15, because at the time where Goku goes to train with Kami, he was roughly about 14 or 15, and then when he comes back for that World Martial Arts tournament where he actually won and defeated Piccolo Jr., he was 18 at that point. So again, the whole 15-year-old growth spurt thing was a nice little lore drop. We then also see that the Supreme Kai and Kibito Kai are also there. Yes, Shin is there. Now, this is going to be weird for those that have seen Dragon Ball Super, or if you are a manga only reader, those that read Dragon Ball Super in the manga, because Goku also thinks this is weird too. Goku asked them how they got separated, and Kibito states that it's from a mysterious gas within Buu, and Vegeta more than likely separated that way. Now, as we all know, that although this could be the case in Dragon Ball Super, Gowasu ends up telling us that a Supreme Kai is the only one that can actually stay permanently fused with the Potara fusion, and that when mortals fuse, it only lasts an hour. Now, within the Buu saga, with the whole fight with Super Buu with Gohan absorbed and Vegito, more than likely that fight wasn't going for an hour, and the gas within Buu was the exact reason why Vegito defused. I know there's going to be a lot of talk online about how, oh, this is retconning the retcon that Super made, but that's not the case. It's not really a retcon of a retcon, but I'll probably make a separate video about this in the future, so look out for that. But again, Kibito Kai and Shin, they asked Majin Buu to actually absorb them so that way they could defuse, because Shin did not want to be fused with Kibito Kai because he was getting old. Now, the thing that they're gonna have to actually explain later in Daima is the fact that at the start of Dragon Ball Super, which technically takes place 4 years after Daima, is how they went back to being fused. Like, what event caused them to fuse again? So hopefully they do explain that and didn't forget that at the beginning of Super that they were still fused. But towards the end of the party, once everybody has had their fill, especially Goku, he ends up asking Vegeta to train, and I thought this whole sequence was amazing. It looked beautiful. Goku and Vegeta actually sparring a little bit, and then them doing a beam clash. I thought that looked amazing. It looked completely beautiful, and I cannot wait to get to more of the action sequences within Daima, and just more action sequences in general if we get more Dragon Ball in general after Daima, or if Daima ends up having more episodes, or season 2, if you will, because again, as I've stated twice already in this video, Dragon Ball Daima is looking crisp, it's looking clean, and I really wish that Dragon Ball Super could have looked like this. All right, it's at that point that we go to the lookout and we get to see Dende and Mr. Popo, but they are interrupted by Goma, Neva, and Degetsu. And once they land on the lookout, Neva ends up mentioning that he hasn't seen a Namekian in 1,000 years. And then it's at that point, Dende asks Degetsu if he's a Supreme Kai, and Degetsu states not exactly. So if you do not know, and what's probably going to be revealed later in Daima, is that Degetsu is what's known as a Makaiyoshin, and technically a Makaiyoshin is technically an evil Kai. This again harpens back to what I was saying earlier in the video about a little bit of information that Toriyama gave about the Kais in the Demon Realm a long time ago. But again, he's a Makaiyoshin, and it honestly got me thinking about whether or not Zamasu was a Makaiyoshin, because again, he had those tendencies. He could have just been a corrupted regular Kai. Then Degetsu tells Dende that they in fact came from the Demon Realm, and that so did Namekians and their ancestors, since they actually have pointy ears. So yes, this is what I was going to talk about earlier. The Namekians specifically came from the Demon Realm, and this honestly harpens back to OG Dragon Ball, Piccolo Daima, otherwise known as Demon King Piccolo, and why he called himself a demon. And this is just my headcanon. Do not take this as fact. This is just my headcanon as of right now, because of all the information that we got within Daima. I believe the original Namekian that Piccolo, Daima, and Kami used to be before they defused probably was a part of that original group of Namekians that came from the Demon Realm. Again, that's just my headcanon. It's at that point that Goma asks if Dende controls the Dragon Balls, and then he demands him to bring them here. But Dende tells them that he is not allowed to do that. We found out that Goma kind of figured that that was going to be the case, and that's why he brought Neva with him. And then Dende asks who Neva even is, and then Goma tells him that he was the one that created the Dragon Balls within the demon realm, and he's the one that actually created the powerful Tamagamis that actually guard the demon realm's Dragon Balls. At that point, Neva then proceeds to search for the Dragon Balls while still on the lookout. So yes, Neva seems to be a very powerful Namekian. Maybe not a part of the Dragon Clan, maybe he's just a Namekian similar to Guru, similar to Kami, and obviously Dende, but a very, very powerful one, an old one obviously. He then says that the balls are still stone since they were used recently, and more than likely that recent wish was the one that actually was used to wish everybody back that was killed by Majin Buu. And obviously Goku also used it to wish that Majin Buu was good. Then this was another crazy thing that I thought. He said that because they were stone, they would be harder to find, but he then proceeds to find them fairly quickly. I thought that was just funny, but you know, it is what it is. As at that point, he brings them all to the lookout almost in an instant. And then Goma ends up asking Neva if he can actually turn the Dragon Balls back from stone into their normal state. And once he does that, at that point, Degetsu begins to read off the chant to summon Shinron, and then Dende tries to stop Negetsu from making that chant, but Degetsu knocks Dende out. I thought that was kind of crazy, and it's very telling of what Degetsu is going to be like in the future, and I cannot wait to see that. Degetsu then proceeds to summon Shinron. It's at that point that we go back to the Z Fighters, and they're very confused as to what's going on. At first, they thought it was some form of eclipse that they were unaware of, but then they kind of figure out that it's obviously Shinron, but they're confused as to why it is Shinron because they literally just used the Dragon Balls not too long ago. So once Shinron is actually summoned, Goma tells Shinron to turn the people that defeated Kid Buu and their friends into kids. At first, Shinron is a little reluctant to even do this, but then he continues on by asking Goma at what age do they want him to be, or do they want them to be? And then Goma says about first graders, and then what about the people who are already kids? And then Goma tells him to turn them into babies. And then it's at that point the episode begins to end. You get the ending music playing, and I honestly love the ending music. It's actually really catchy. But we see all the Z Fighters, all the family and whatnot turning into kids, mainly Goku and Vegeta turning into kids, but we get to see them turning into kids. Again, I know people are probably tired of this whole gimmick of turning Goku and obviously now everybody into kids, but oh well. The whole point of this was to make them weaker so that way they wouldn't get in the way of Goma's plans. So realistically, I don't understand why people are going to be mad at. There are people who are mad about it already, but oh well. All I have to say about that is remember that this is Toriyama's final project. As Dragon Ball fans, we should really respect that. Now again, that's my breakdown of the episode. As far as my thoughts about it and whatnot, again, I love this episode. It was amazing. It again made me feel as if I was a kid again. My wife even said it felt like it was too short, even though this episode was 32 minutes long, or the normal 23-minute long anime episode. We got a lot in this first episode, and I'm super pumped and glad that Dragon Ball is back in anime form. I cannot wait for more. I can't wait for these characters to appear in Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, because that's what I'm playing right now. So if you want to play and join me in Sparking Zero, be sure to click that Discord link in the description and join the community. We'll be glad to have you there and play some games together. But with that said, if you enjoyed my breakdown and review of the first episode of Dragon Ball Daima, be sure to go ahead and like and share this video out to all your friends, and then hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to receive notifications so that way you know every time I happen to upload a new video. And with that being said, I will catch y'all in the next video. Peace.